Welcome back to Truth Bombs, where we expose the lies, betrayals, and shocking secrets that people thought they'd never have to face. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a story that will make you question everyone you trust. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're listening from around the world. I love hearing from our Truth Bombs family. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we drop explosive truth stories like this one every week. Today's story is called The Dinner Party, and it's about Felicity Donovan, a successful event planner who thought her greatest strength was her attention to detail. Little did she know that same attention to detail would uncover a web of betrayal so deep it would destroy her marriage, expose federal crimes, and reveal that even her own family had been lying to her face. It all started with something as simple as a sapphire bracelet. But by the time you hear how this story ends, you'll understand why one dinner party became the most devastating and satisfying revenge in history. So buckle up, Truth Bombs family, because this one is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Let's dive in. The Dinner Party. My name is Felicity Donovan, and I used to believe that attention to detail was my greatest strength. It made me successful in event planning, and it made my dinner parties the talk of Riverside Heights, our affluent neighborhood where appearances mattered more than truth. But it was that same attention to detail that destroyed my life, and ultimately saved it. So when I noticed the delicate sapphire bracelet on my best friend Karen's wrist, identical to the one my husband Roman had given me for our anniversary, I knew immediately that something was terribly wrong. The bracelet was custom-made, Roman had told me, one of a kind. A symbol of our unique love. I excused myself from our weekly coffee date, claiming a sudden headache. But instead of going home, I sat in my car outside the jewelry store, where Roman claimed to have bought my bracelet. The elderly jeweler confirmed what I already suspected. He'd made 2 identical pieces for the same customer just last month. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling while Roman slept peacefully beside me. I could confront him, scream, throw the bracelet at his face. Instead, I made a different choice. I would find out everything before I acted. The next morning, after Roman left for work, I called Marcus Webb, a private investigator I'd found through a client referral from my event planning business. "I need to know about my husband's activities," I said simply. "All of them." "How long do you want me to follow him?" Marcus asked. "Until I tell you to stop." While Marcus worked, I began my own investigation. I started paying closer attention to conversations, to glances, to the small details I'd previously overlooked, and I began recording everything. The first breakthrough came when Marcus called 3 days later. "Mrs. Donovan, I have some preliminary findings. Your husband has been meeting with Mrs. Corinne Mitchell regularly. Restaurants, hotels, even her home when her husband Timothy is at work." "How long?" "Based on credit card records and surveillance, at least 8 months. But there's more." My stomach dropped. "More?" "He's been using a corporate credit card for these expenses. Dinners, hotels, jewelry purchases. We're talking about serious financial crimes here." Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus uncovered a web of deception that went far beyond a simple affair. Roman had been using company funds not just for Corinne, but for an entire secret lifestyle. Expensive dinners, weekend getaways, even a monthly rental at the Fairmont Hotel, room 1247, that cost $8,000 a month, all charged to his corporate black card. But the most devastating discovery came when Marcus handed me a thick envelope filled with photographs and a USB drive. "The photos first," Marcus said gently. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. The first photograph showed Roman and Corinne entering the Fairmont Hotel together, Roman's hand possessively on the small of her back. The timestamp read, Tuesday, 2:17 p.m., the same Tuesday Roman had texted me about being stuck in budget meetings until 9. The second photo was taken through the window of Il Giardino, showing them sharing an intimate lunch. Corinne was wearing my bracelet, her head thrown back in laughter at something Roman was saying. This was the restaurant Roman had dismissed as too pretentious when I'd suggested it for our anniversary. Photo after photo documented their affair with brutal clarity. Corinne getting out of Roman's BMW in the hotel parking garage. Roman and Corinne kissing passionately against his car, her legs wrapped around his waist. The timestamp on that one made my blood run cold. Our anniversary, 3 hours before he came home with cheap flowers and took me to Applebee's for what he called a simple, genuine dinner. There are financial records, too, Marcus continued. Wire transfers to offshore accounts, shell companies. Your husband isn't just cheating. He's been systematically embezzling from his own company. We're talking about nearly $2 million over 18 months. $2 million? I whispered. And there's this. He handed me the USB drive. I placed listening devices in his car and office. You need to hear what they really think of you. I waited until I was alone to listen. The first recording was Roman and Corinne in his car. She's so clueless, Roman's voice came through clearly. Last night she thanked me again for the unique bracelet. If she only knew I bought yours first. Corinne's laughter was like glass breaking in my ears. I can't believe she doesn't suspect anything. I've been wearing it to our coffee dates for weeks. Felicity sees what she wants to see, Roman replied. She's so busy playing the perfect wife, planning her little parties, she doesn't notice anything real. What about Timothy? He's been asking questions. Timothy's not going to do anything. He needs his job too much, and he knows I can fire him any time. He'll keep his mouth shut. Another recording. This one from Roman's office with his business partner. The beauty of it is that she handles all the household finances, but she never looks at the corporate accounts. I could fund this for years, and she'd never know. The cruelest recording was a phone conversation between Roman and Corinne. Sometimes I feel bad, Corinne said. She's been such a good friend. She's boring, Roman replied flatly. All she cares about is appearances and dinner parties. You're exciting, spontaneous. She hasn't been interesting in years. What if she finds out? She won't. And even if she did, what's she going to do? Leave me? She likes the lifestyle too much. Her mother's already told me as much. I paused the recording. My mother? I played it back. Her mother's already told me as much. What do you mean? Corinne asked. Helen pulled me aside at Christmas. Said she hoped I was being discreet, but that she understood men have needs. Basically gave me permission as long as I kept providing for her daughter. I felt physically sick. My own mother knew and had essentially sanctioned the affair. The recordings continued for hours. Roman and Corinne mocking my dinner parties, discussing how pathetic it was that I tried so hard to impress people. They laughed about inside jokes they shared at my expense, about how they'd been intimate in my own home when I was supposedly out of town. But the most damning recording was the most recent one. How long do you think we can keep this up? Corinne asked. As long as we want, Roman replied confidently. She's completely oblivious. Even if someone told her outright, she'd probably make excuses for us. She's that desperate to keep up appearances. Timothy's been acting strange lately. Timothy knows which side his bread is buttered on. Besides, even if he grew a backbone, who would believe him? I'm the successful businessman. He's just my employee. What about her family? Or her friends? They all know, and they're all keeping quiet. Her brother saw us at Chez Laurent last month and just looked the other way. Her sister Christina knows too. She mentioned seeing my car at your place when she thought Felicity was out of town. They're all protecting the status quo, Corinne laughed. No one wants to rock the boat. Exactly. Everyone benefits from Felicity staying ignorant. Her parents get their country club lifestyle. Her siblings get their networking connections through me, and you and I get to have our fun. It's perfect. I turned off the recording and sat in silence for a long time. Everyone knew. My family, my friends, my social circle, they were all complicit in my humiliation. And worse, Roman and Corinne were so confident in their deception that they felt safe mocking me openly. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated me. Over the next week, I maintained my normal routine while secretly preparing. I continued my coffee dates with Corinne, smiling as my best friend wore the bracelet and made subtle digs about boring marriages and wives who don't appreciate what they have. "You're so lucky to have Roman," she said during one particularly nauseating conversation. "He's so attentive, so generous. Some women just don't know how good they have it." I attended family dinners where my mother made pointed comments about the importance of marriage and not looking for problems where none exist. I watched my brother James and sister Christina exchange knowing glances when Roman's name came up. "Marriage requires patience, dear," Mother said, refilling Roman's wine glass at Sunday dinner. "Men need understanding. The smart woman learns to overlook certain indiscretions." "What kind of indiscretions, Mother?" I asked innocently. "Nothing specific, just that marriage is about the bigger picture. Security, stability. Some things are better left unexplored." At Timothy's company barbecue, I observed his nervous behavior around me, noting how he could barely make eye contact when I thanked him for being such a good friend to our family. All the while, I planned. The dinner party would be my masterpiece, not just of event planning, but of justice. I invited 40 people this time, expanding beyond our usual circle to include Roman's business associates, Corinne's extended family, and several prominent members of our country club. I hired the best caterer in the city, arranged for live music, and even brought in a videographer to document the special evening. When Roman asked about the guest list, I smiled sweetly. "I thought it was time we brought our different circles together. Your business friends, our families, everyone who's important to us." "What's the occasion?" he pressed. "Can't a wife celebrate her husband and her friendships?" I touched his arm affectionately. "I want to honor the people who matter most to us." Meanwhile, Marcus was coordinating with federal prosecutors. "The FBI is ready to move," he told me. "Wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion. We're looking at 25 years minimum if he's convicted on all counts." After the dinner party, I said, "I want everyone to understand exactly who they've been protecting." The night of the party, I wore a stunning black dress and my sapphire bracelet. I watched as Corinne arrived with Timothy, also wearing her matching bracelet. The irony wasn't lost on me that they'd both chosen to flaunt their shared secret so openly. Throughout the evening, I played my role perfectly. I complimented Corinne's dress, asked Roman to tell stories about his recent business trips, and made sure everyone's wine glass stayed full. I even had quiet conversations with my family members, thanking them for their support and discretion. Marcus was there too, disguised as part of the catering staff, with recording equipment running. As the main course was being cleared, I caught Roman and Corinne in a corner, speaking in low voices. "She's really outdone herself tonight," Corinne was saying. "Almost makes me feel bad." "Don't," Roman replied. "She loves this stuff. Playing hostess, being the center of attention. She'd rather live in denial than face reality." "Still no idea?" "None whatsoever. Did you see her thanking your husband earlier for being such a good friend? If she only knew he's been covering for us for months." They both laughed softly, and I felt my resolve strengthen. Finally, as dessert was being served, I stood and tapped my fork against my crystal glass. The videographer moved into position. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the dining room. "Roman and I have been so blessed to have such wonderful friends and family." I paused, letting my eyes sweep the room, noting the comfortable smiles, the relaxed postures of people who thought they were safe. "Tonight is special because it's about truth," I continued. "About the people who really know us, who see us for who we truly are. A few puzzled glances were exchanged, but most people simply raised their glasses expectantly. For instance, many of you know things about our marriage that you've chosen to keep private. You've watched, you've observed, and you've made decisions about what to share and what to protect us from. Now the room was becoming uncomfortable. Roman's face had started to change color. I'm particularly grateful to my dear friend Corinne, who has been so supportive, and to my husband Roman, who has shown me exactly who he is. I reached into my purse and pulled out a small device, a Bluetooth speaker. I thought tonight would be perfect for sharing some truths, starting with this conversation from last week. I pressed play, and Roman's voice filled the room. She's so clueless. Last night she thanked me again for the unique bracelet. If she only knew I bought yours first. The reaction was immediate. Gasps, the clatter of dropped silverware, chairs scraping as people turned to stare at Roman and Corinne. But I wasn't finished. And this delightful exchange about our marriage. Another recording began playing. She's boring. All she cares about is appearances and dinner parties. You're exciting, spontaneous. She hasn't been interesting in years. Corinne had gone white as paper. Timothy looked like he was going to be sick. But my personal favorite, I said, my voice growing stronger, is this conversation about how confident you both are in my ignorance. The final recording was the most damaging. Roman and Corinne laughing about how pathetic I was, how I'd probably make excuses even if confronted directly, how everyone was complicit in keeping me ignorant. By the time the recording finished, half the guests were already standing to leave. The others sat in stunned silence. The private investigator I hired has documented 8 months of adultery and nearly $2 million in embezzled company funds, I announced calmly. Roman has been using corporate credit cards to fund his affair, rent hotel suites, and transfer money to offshore accounts. The FBI will be very interested in these details. I turned to face my mother directly. And Mother, since you apparently gave Roman permission to cheat as long as he kept paying for your lifestyle, I thought you should know that those payments will be ending. Permanently. Mother's face had gone ashen. Felicity, you're misunderstanding. Am I? Because I have recordings of Roman telling Corinne that you basically gave him permission as long as he kept providing for your daughter. Your exact words, according to him, were that you understood men have needs. The room erupted. Roman was on his feet, demanding to know how I'd recorded them. Corinne was crying, trying to apologize. Timothy was backing toward the door. But my father was staring at his wife with an expression of pure disgust. You knew, he said to Mother, his voice barely controlled. You knew, and you told him it was acceptable. I was protecting our daughter's future. You were protecting your own comfort, he snapped, at the expense of your own child's dignity. I raised my voice above the chaos. James, Christina, since you both knew about the affair and chose to stay silent, you should know that your networking connections through Roman are about to become a liability. Federal prosecutors don't look kindly on those who enable financial crimes. My siblings' faces went pale as they realized their own careers might be affected. For those of you who stayed silent, who saw them together, who knew about the affair and said nothing, you chose their deception over my well-being. You decided that preserving your own comfort was more important than basic honesty. I held up my phone. Everything has been recorded tonight as well. The looks on your faces when the truth came out, your reactions, your complicity. The exodus began in earnest then. Guests rushing for the door, some pausing to offer stammered apologies, others too ashamed to make eye contact. Roman made one last desperate attempt. Felicity, we can work through this. We can't, I said simply, because this isn't just about the affair, Roman. It's about the contempt. The way you mocked me, dismissed me, used me. The way you stole from your own company to fund your betrayal. The way you corrupted everyone around us into accomplices. As the room emptied, only a few people remained. My father, who was gathering his things with grim determination, Marcus, who was packing up his equipment, and the videographer, who was still recording. "Dad?" I said softly. He looked up at me and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. Respect. "I'm proud of you," he said. "And I'm ashamed of myself for not seeing what was happening. But I'm going to fix that now." 3 days later, my father appeared at my hotel suite with a suitcase and divorce papers of his own. "I've left your mother," he said simply. "I can't be married to someone who would sacrifice their own daughter for social status and comfort." The legal proceedings that followed were swift and devastating. The FBI moved within a week, armed with Marcus's evidence. Roman was arrested at his office on federal charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. The investigation revealed that his crimes went far beyond funding his affair. He'd been systematically moving money through shell companies, evading taxes, and falsifying corporate records. 6 months later, Roman was sentenced to 28 years in federal prison. His business partners, who had attended my dinner party, testified against him to avoid their own prosecution. The company collapsed within months. Corinne's marriage to Timothy ended before Roman's trial even began. Shunned by her parents and our social circle, she had no choice but to leave the city and move in with her aunt after losing her job. Timothy, facing potential charges as an accessory, cooperated fully with prosecutors and testified against Roman to avoid prosecution. It was the first time he'd stood up to his bully. My mother called repeatedly, alternating between fury and pleading, but I never answered. My siblings tried to mediate, but their own complicity had been too clearly documented. James lost several clients who didn't want to be associated with the scandal, and Christina's reputation in the legal community suffered significantly when word spread about her role in covering up the affair. A year later, I started my own event planning company. My first client was a woman who had heard about the dinner party through mutual acquaintances, a woman who wanted help planning her own confrontation with a cheating husband. "I want something elegant but devastating," she explained, "something that exposes the truth with style." I smiled. "I think I can help you with that." The dinner party had cost me a marriage, a best friend, a mother, and 2 siblings. But it had given me back my father, my self-respect, and a new understanding of my own strength. Sometimes, I realized, the most devastating betrayals reveal not just who really loves you, but who you really are when you decide to fight back. And sometimes, the most elegant revenge is simply the truth, served at the perfect temperature with a side of federal prosecution. And that's how one woman's attention to detail brought down a cheating husband, exposed federal crimes, and served justice colder than any revenge fantasy you could imagine. Felicity didn't just get even. She got federal prosecutors involved. Sometimes the most elegant revenge isn't screaming or throwing things. Sometimes it's simply letting people reveal exactly who they are, recording it, and serving the truth at the perfect moment with a side of criminal charges. What did you think of Felicity's approach? Would you have handled it the same way, or would you have confronted them immediately? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If this story left you as speechless as it left me, make sure you're subscribed to Truth Bombs with notifications turned on, because we expose shocking betrayals like this every week. And here's the thing. If you know someone who loves dramatic justice stories, share this channel with them. Trust me, they'll thank you for it. Also, don't forget to tell me where you're listening from. I love seeing our Truth Bombs family growing all around the world. Until next time, remember, the truth always finds a way to surface. Sometimes it just needs the right dinner party to make its grand entrance. I'll see you in the next Truth Bomb.